Hi, I'm Allie.
And I'm Becky.
We're registered dietitians that are passionate about food as medicine, and we use functional approaches to whole body health.
In today's video, we are going to be talking about the benefits of kale, why you need to massage your kale, and we'll be making the best ever kale salad.
So we are huge fans of leafy greens. In fact, it's a part of almost all of our protocols to get about 2 to 3 cups of leafy greens in per day. This is because greens provide a lot of volume, which creates stretch receptor function in our stomach to create satiety, and at low calorie with high nutritional density. So leafy greens are going to provide us vitamins A, K, vitamin C, magnesium, manganese, calcium, as well as feel-good mood stabilizing nutrients like folate and tryptophan, and provide a great source of fiber. What's more, kale has over 45 different research-identified flavonoids. Some of these flavonoids to note are kaempferol and quercetin. These two provide antioxidant support as well as anti-inflammatory and enhance our detoxification processes.
All right, so we are using in today's recipe some lacinato kale, and we want to emphasize the importance of chopping and then massaging, and you'll see that technique in a moment, but massaging your kale actually can help to break down the dense cell walls, aiding in releasing enzymes and actually reducing some of that bitterness that's a common complaint about kale salads. And I think when people don't like a kale salad, it's because it has not been properly massaged.
Most definitely, we aren't ruminants. We don't have 3 different stomachs to digest and break down the really dense fibers in the cellulose. And so by massaging it, we're kind of mechanically pre-digesting it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually rinse off this kale over here in the sink. And one thing I wanna note, especially with this lacinato kale, if it comes from a farm share or from the farmer's market, it's got these really dense kind of pockets in the cell walls. In there, we can see that like aphids and bugs can kind of cling. So as you're rinsing it, you want to really look for that and just make sure you're kind of rubbing those sections.
You could just kind of take your back of your nail and pop them out if you see an aphid-filled kale leaf, but this batch was actually quite clean.
That's how you know it's organic too, right?
Yeah, I mean, if the vegetable itself has living things on it, that means that it hasn't been sprayed with toxic compounds that would otherwise kill them. So I find that as a good sign of truly organic produce. All right, so as Becky is rinsing that, I'm gonna go ahead and smash this garlic clove here. So I'm just gonna take off that woody end and run my knife through some big pieces. Break those down. This is gonna actually allow oxygen to mix with the sulfur-containing thiols or antioxidant components, which is going to actually create more activation of those compounds. So I'm gonna do a really fine chop of the garlic, and then we'll let that sit and be exposed to the air for about 10-15 minutes while we're de-stemming.
Okay, and then you guys have seen us do this before, but just for a quick refresher, when you're de-stemming your kale, you're gonna kind of go up to where the leaf meets that stem and just run your fingers along, kind of pulling that clean. We would toss these kale stems into our compost bin. We're not gonna save those for bone broth because they're quite sulfuric and bitter. And then once you get a couple of leaves, you can kind of stack and roll and chiffonade, and I'll show you all that in a moment. Okay, so I'm gonna take about 3 or 4 of those leaves and kind of pack them in to a tight little roll or kale burrito, if we wanna call it that. And then I'm gonna take my knife and just kind of bring it down, making these thin little ribbons, fingers tucked back, of course, in a chiffonade cut. So this really helps breaking down those cell walls and making it a little bit easier to massage. And then I like to go a couple times down this way to make really bite-sized pieces.
All right, so that's all the kale there. I'm gonna put a nice generous pinch of mineral sea salt. And then you're just gonna kind of do a twisting and crunching type motion. This is what we mean by massaging. So you want to massage it enough so that it actually releases some bright green liquid. Like Becky said, that's going to aid with activating the enzymes and reducing the bitterness. So everything should be pretty glistening by the time that it's done massaging, and you'll probably see a reduction in volume about by 1/3 or 1/2 or so. All right. You see in that bowl, we're getting some of that nice bright green liquid coming out, and also on my hands. All right, so that looks thorough and massaged. Next step is to add some flavor. Zest and juice of 1 lime. So this is going to provide us a good full teaspoon of zest. This is going to get all those bioflavonoids and also really nice brightness of flavor. Let's get all that zest go in there. All right, I'll let you slice that in half, Becky, and then we can juice that lime in there. And then in this, we have a teaspoon of mineral salt as well as a teaspoon of cumin. So it's going to provide a nice warming flavor profile. It pairs really beautifully with the brightness of the acid of the lime. So a teaspoon of each, the juice of that lime.
And lime's going in. We're following that FASS or FASS. Fat is the olive oil, acid is that lime, salt is already in there, and then Allie's getting our other S, our sweet.
A little bit of sweet. So about a teaspoon of raw unfiltered honey. And as we've talked before with metabolic flexibility, yes, this kale salad is still totally keto because that 1 teaspoon of the honey is going to be dressed over a salad that would serve, 2 to 4 people. So you're really getting 1/4 of a teaspoon of honey, and a teaspoon of honey only provides 5 grams of carbs total. So really negligible impact there. All right, so we'll whisk this all together. That honey also provides a really nice emulsification, so it's going to allow that acid and fat to combine. So we'll dress this all in. Mix it up, and then we're gonna just top it with some avocado slices and some pepitas.
All right, so this adds another layer of creamy fat texture and mouthfeel here, as well as some folate.
Sprinkle on the pepitas as well. All right, I think the last step is to give it a taste.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm gonna make sure I get a bite with all the good stuff in here. So I got my leaf, my seeds, my avocado.
Oh yeah, perfect bite. Cheers.
Cheers. Really fantastic blending of flavors and textures, the creamy avocado on the palate with that crunch of the nuts, really perfect. I love to pair this with various proteins, so we can do this with chicken, we can also do this with salmon, or really as a side to any meal. Skirt steak would be really beautiful, or served with carnitas and adding some pickled red onion too.
Oh, yeah. And this recipe is also featured in our 10-day detox protocol. There's a code for you guys just for YouTube followers below to get our detox ebook that's normally $9.99 for just $1.99. So check that out too.
So hopefully this inspired you to get more leafy greens into your diet, and now you know the techniques of massaging kale so that you can get all of those bioavailable nutrients and support a really nice digestible texture. If you like this recipe below or have another favorite, go ahead and comment on your favorite way to get leafy greens in, and make sure that you subscribe to the Naturally Nourished YouTube channel where you can stay on top of our weekly video releases of food as medicine. This one's not smashable. Wow. Okay, redo that part.